Hey, welcome people. It's yet another episode of FPL tips on TepTV. I remain your host Sheikh Majayi. Quickly, because of the swift interchange between Gameweek 13 and Gameweek 14, I'll just have a little review around what happened in Gameweek 13, and then we're going straight to the tips for this weekend. Let's not forget that for the Gameweek 14, the deadline is Tuesday 6 p.m. Tuesday 6 p.m. So that's the deadline for Game Week 14. So please let's not get carried away waiting until Friday or until Saturday, because there will be games in the midweek. There are games on Tuesday, there are games on Wednesday, and there are games on Thursday. So quickly we'll just be looking at how the team performed last week. Of course, we know that several things happened. For example, Man United was able to snatch that 1-1 draw from Chelsea. Boy Vardy was finally able to deliver after so many weeks of speculation. And then we also had Jota delivering 2 goals thereabouts. Salah was able to give us an assist for most of us who captained him. And then, there were hits and misses here and there. For example, Cancelo coming in was just able to get out 1 point after West Ham snatched the clean sheet from him at the dead of the game. So quickly we'll be going to the FPL tips for this weekend. Let's not forget that we need to be following us. Let's follow us on Instagram. Let's follow us on WhatsApp. WhatsApp number will be displayed on the screen. And then let's also try and subscribe so that whenever there are new updates, whenever there are new videos, you would always be notified. Also, let's not forget that every week we always have a prepared team for the weekend. And just like the way we said, the prepared team is such that we believe should to give at least 70 points at the end of that game. And of course, if we make 70 points every game week in FPL, we're basically going to win FPL that season. So, going straight to the tips for this weekend. Let's not forget that we're entering the busy December, January that determines how far we can go in FPL. Many times, a lot of persons start well in FPL, and this is the time, determinant time where people either rise or fall and they never pick up again. This is where people stop playing FPL, this is where people give up basically on their FPL teams and say, no more, I'm not doing it again. So December and January is going to be a big time for us to see who are those that are the smart coaches, the fast coaches. Make sure that you don't wallow so much on your failure, especially if you look at the past game week and then you say, I didn't do so well this past game week. Always look ahead to the new game week. Also, don't forget that in this period of time between December and January, we're going to be having some game weeks where we're calling double game weeks, where some teams will be having 2 matches in a particular week. An example is what we already saw that happened with Tottenham and Burnley. So Tottenham and Burnley, their match was postponed because of the snow. So it means that they will be playing that match sometime in the future. And on the week when they will be playing that match, there's a strong tendency that they will be having two games in that 1 week. Of course, you want to target their players because they have better chances of scoring more points because they have 2 games in just 1 game week. Also, let's not forget the fact that because of this also, it means that there are some times when some teams will not play, especially because of the FA Cup and maybe, for example, maybe the Carling Cup, or depending on the way the schedule is. So because of these kind of things, we should be expecting that very soon teams will start having call-ups, and then we'll be having double game weeks and the rest of it. So it's possible that you end up getting to a game week where only 7 of your outfield players are available to play. So you need to be smart enough to think ahead, see what is going on ahead, and know where the postponements will actually happen. So let's quickly go to the tips for this weekend. The first tip for this weekend is Jota in. I said to us last week, get Diogo Jota, and I'm saying again to us this week, for those of us who were adamant last week, who were still trying to stick onto our Foden, trying to stick onto whatever player you had, you can see more often than not that now you need to get Jota in. Of course, Liverpool is playing Everton away, and it's a Merseyside derby. Personally, I would not tell you that game is all written that Liverpool will win that game, because for the past 4 games, it has always ended in a draw. Even last season, it ended as a 2-2 draw. That was the game that had the highest number of goals in this kind of fixture. Many times it has ended as a 0-0 draw or as a 1-1 draw. So, although I'm asking you to get Jota in, if you feel that you want to be patient for this week, be my guest. Because, like I said, I'm not so sure it's going to be an high scoring match, because Everton, we look at it as a derby. Benitez is also going to turn up and just like, which also affects Salah. For those of us who own Salah, of course, most of us own Salah, and for those who are also considering money, it will also affect us. But a little glimpse that I've seen so far is that many times whenever we play in derbies like this, Mane tends to turn up. So he didn't score in the last game week. I am tipping him. It's just an hunch. I'm tipping him that Mane should do well. So for those who own Mane, I think you should just keep it, because I think Mane possibly do that. But besides that, on the long run, I think Jota is a must-have. Firmino is injured, so Jota would start. And even in January, Mane and Salah will go for the African Cup of Nations, and Jota will still continue playing. Most likely by that time, the front three will be Firmino, Jota, and Takumi Minamino. So I'm expecting that Jota will play at least for the next 2 months, or possibly 2 months and a half, depending on how quickly Salah and Mane leave the African Cup of Nations competition. So that's our first tip for this weekend. So if you're going to be asking me, the 3 wise men from Liverpool that you should be having right now is Salah, Trent, and Diogo Jota. We'll go straight to the tip number 2. Tip number 2 says Newcastle should finally get their first win. Newcastle should finally get their first win. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Newcastle fans, but maybe not, actually. Maybe not. Because I feel that the game is going to be between the 2 bottoms of the table, Norwich and Newcastle. Of course, Newcastle is at home. Newcastle has been looking for a win all season and they've not gotten one. Newcastle have the money, but yet has not been able to get the players. And then Norwich has had a little bit of revival with the new coach. Both teams have new coaches anyways. So I expect that the game will be an all-out attack game. Burnley and Newcastle would score, Norwich will also score as well. That's the reason why I'm also tipping Timo Pukki to also do very well in that match. But all in all, I'm expecting a very exciting game of football. So I'm looking at it that with everything that is happening, if you are some persons who are looking at getting some players for that match, I would say don't go for the defenders because they will concede a lot of goals in that match. I'm saying maybe it's possible it ends as a 3-3 or a 3-2 to one of the teams, or a 2-1 depending on whichever case, but I don't see any clean sheet in that match. And I think that if Callum Wilson, it's not necessarily guaranteed that he's going to score because I've been disappointed with Wilson over and over again. Of course, I don't have him, but I think one player you'll be looking to target in Newcastle is ASN, that's Saint Maximin, and then another player possibly looking at targeting from Norwich will be Timo Pukki. I strongly feel that Timo Pukki has a goal in that match this game week. We go straight to the next tip. The next tip, which is the most important tip in today's tips, is very tricky week. Avoid -4 hits if not necessary. Personally, I've looked at the fixtures, and every time when we try to play FPL, we try and look at the fixtures and try to predict the scores, what the scoreline should be for each of the matches. This game week has some very terrible fixtures written all over it. For example, City is going away to Aston Villa. We don't know. Of course, Gerrard is a new manager in the Premier League, and we've seen him play some very good football. He has won 2 out of 2, but of course, we don't still know if Villa is the real deal, and we don't know if City will be able to match up to Villa. Especially because judging by the fact that if we are very observant of what City are doing these days, you will see that they've been scoring for low. City has to play extremely well before they can actually make some goals. For example, when we look at some of the games they played recently, especially the PSG game that they played where they won 2-1, PSG scored out of the blue because they had a lot of finishers in front, but Man City had to puff and puff before they finally got the game done. But that doesn't take anything away from Man City, the fact that they are playing extremely well. They are a very good attacking team, but judging by the fact that they don't exactly have natural goal scorers who can score something out of nothing, I still feel that game is very tricky. And also judging by the fact that Aston Villa has at least been scoring 2 goals in the last 2 games that Gerrard has been the manager, it means that there's a tendency that for those of us who won't Cancelo like myself, there may not be clean sheets. So if we're not going to get clean sheets from Man City and we don't know who is going to be scoring, then it's looking like I see Man City players are players to avoid for this game week. Nevertheless, you can't write off Man City winning that match, but the problem is who exactly is going to give you the points FPL term wise. Also, when we look at Liverpool, I've already spoken about Liverpool playing against Everton. It's a derby. Everton are going to turn up the heat. Of course, I still predict, maybe because I'm a fan, I still predict Liverpool scoring at least 2 goals in that match. But the problem is, with the way Liverpool are shipping in goals, I'm not sure Liverpool also be able to keep Everton at bay. If Liverpool can keep Everton at bay to a clean sheet, I feel Liverpool wins that match. But if Liverpool cannot keep Everton at bay, then you'll possibly be seeing a draw. So judging by that, and because of the way the game pans out, you cannot categorically say who is or who is not. I still feel Salah can do something, but it may not be a big all as we all have been expecting. Now, also, if you look at other games across board, you discover that some of the other games are actually tricky. Man United plays Arsenal. It's not a bad game entirely on paper, but it's a game that could just end 1-0 or 1-1 to any of the 1-1 as a draw to both parties, or a 1-0 to any of the 2 teams. So when you also look at every of the games this week, they look very tricky. So I'll tell you that for those of us who are trying to make transfers, if you feel that the transfer is not necessary, for example, some of us who have Mbeumo, for example, are looking at shipping out Mbeumo, there's a strong tendency that you don't have a proper replacement for Mbeumo at the moment. even if you have a replacement for Mbeumo at the moment, it's possibly not a replacement that will deliver so many points. And that includes Jota, that includes Bernardo Silva, that includes Gabriel. Just like I mentioned, I'm not sure if we're going to be expecting high scoring goals this week. So, but one thing I can say is that you can save your transfer ahead of the next game so that you can have 2 transfers to make, and then you can easily make a better change to your squad or to your team as a whole. So if you don't necessarily need to make a change, don't bother making a change. If you feel that it's very important, maybe there's a player that has an injury and you need to replace him, then you can go ahead and make a change. But practically for this game week, avoid minus 4 because it will tell a lot in your overall score, because some persons may walk away with just 30 or below 30, and I'm expecting the average to be quite good because the game week is tricky. So we go to the fourth tip for this weekend. The fourth tip for this weekend is Jimenez and Antonio look good. Of course, like I mentioned, the game week is very terrible, and for me to be telling you in a particular tip that Jimenez and Antonio look good, you should understand that the game week is very terrible. So Wolves and West Ham play at home. One of them played Brighton, the other person plays, I can't remember. So the other person, I think Wolves plays also a lesser team, and then West Ham plays Brighton. So basically I'm hoping that Antonio turns up. But just like we have seen for the course of the season, Antonio has been very terrible. So I would not advise you to put all your eggs in Antonio's basket, simply because Antonio may still not turn up and West Ham still wins that game. So it means that you could end up seeing West Ham winning that game, say 2-1, 2-0, or depending on the case, and Antonio is not part of the goals or the assists. On the field of play, he's playing extremely well for West Ham, but FPL points wise, we are not seeing the result. So he looks good, but it's not someone you put all your eggs in the same basket. But for Jimenez, I think I even have a better silver lining with Jimenez, because I feel any good thing that will happen to Wolves at the moment would likely go through Jimenez. Even if it is Wang scoring, Jimenez is possibly giving the assist, and then Jimenez or Jimenez scoring himself. But Jimenez doesn't look like a player who will give you 10 points. So the maximum Jimenez has given so far this season has just been 8 points. So I feel that most likely we're signing ourselves in for another 8 points. So that would also give us a better understanding of who we should play, who we should bench, and who we should captain. Now we go to the next tip. The next tip is we're looking at the good captains. But before we look at the good captains, I'd just like to make a point out to Crystal Palace. At the moment, Crystal Palace are playing some very fantastic football. Of course, they are not winning all their matches. The last match they lost to Aston Villa. But of course, I think they got the goal. They got to go against Aston Villa, so the other game ended 2-1. But possible players to look at, especially in this very tricky game week, is possibly looking at Benteke in Crystal Palace. The problem I must warn you with Benteke is the fact that Benteke many times has a bench. So if Benteke does not start, he's definitely brought on. And because he's been brought on in maybe 3 minutes to go, 18 minutes to go, 35 minutes to go, you end up getting 1 point and you're not happy. So that's the reason why I will tell you that for as many of us who are jumping on Benteke is a very big risk, high risk, high reward kind of player. He's a player that it's possible you get him and then he scores 2 goals in that particular match, and then you are all happy. Against Leeds, he scores 2 goals against Leeds, and then you're happy. Of course, we know that Leeds have not had the best of defenses at the moment, though they've been showing out the defense little by little. But it's also possible for you to have Benteke who sits on the bench and then comes on maybe 90th minute, 90 plus 1, and then gives you that 1 point where you are so angry and possibly had a better bench player with maybe a 5 point or a 6 point who could have come in for Benteke. So Benteke is very risky. And the second person is actually Gallagher. For me, I feel that all of the hypes around Gallagher is very warranted, especially judging by the fact that he has been delivering a lot. But we must understand the premise of Gallagher delivering. We discovered that Gallagher is not a player that has been delivering consistently over the entire season. Player-wise, he has been doing so well for Crystal Palace, but we must not forget the fact that he tends to have big hauls at some short intervals. So it means that sooner or later, Gallagher's goals and assists will dry up. Judging also by the fact that Eze has come back from injury and is coming back into the team, then we expect that Gallagher will also reduce in terms of influence. So judging by all of these facts, I would say that if you wanted to get Gallagher, it would have been yesterday. But getting Gallagher now may not pay as much dividends as you would have wanted before. Go to the 5th tip for this weekend, good captains. The 5th tip for this weekend, good captains. Now, Salah is a safe option again, I will be honest with you. Although they are playing against Everton, it's a Merseyside derby and things could go crazy. For example, that game could end 0-0. As bad as this, it could end 0-0 and Salah just walks away with 3 points. But Salah looks like a safe option again. I can almost say that there's an 80% chance that Salah will at least give you 5 points again. So that's 5 times 2, that's 10. Let's say 6 points, that's 6 times 2, that's 12 points. But if you're desperate to get more points, then you need to take bigger risk. So a big risk to possibly captaining a defender. So another option I see at the moment is possibly Reece James in Chelsea. I feel Chelsea is playing against Watford. Chelsea just came from a game where they felt hurt, they felt disappointed with the fact that they had to draw against Manchester United. I don't think Watford will stand a chance. But nevertheless, Watford is a very attacking team that could also hurt Chelsea with a goal. It doesn't mean that football-wise Chelsea will not win that one, because I feel Chelsea will win that one. But FPL-wise, for those of us who own Reece James or we have double Chelsea defense, we will be sulking if Chelsea loses just a single goal and loses that clean sheet basically. So because of that, Reece James looks like a risky captain, but someone who give us rewards. Of course, he could score that goal as well that we all know him to do, especially the last time he scored in the Champions League. So Reece James also looks like another option. Another option also is Jimenez, like I mentioned. Jimenez is also another safe option. I feel Jimenez should give us at least more than 4 points, say 5.6 points, and then we should be good with it. Then there's also Ronaldo against Arsenal. Ronaldo against Arsenal looks a bit shaky. I cannot guarantee for a fact that Ronaldo will actually be going to bring up the goods against Arsenal. But I just feel that Ronaldo will start that match and gives him a better chance of getting a goal for himself. So, and then the last person that I'm looking at as another captain choice will be Cancelo. Now, Cancelo is also a tricky, judging by the fact that I said we don't know how Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa will play. We cannot categorically say, oh, Aston Villa are ready to, they are good to go, they're going to destroy everybody and stuff like that. We can't say that yet because they haven't really faced a very big test. The new captain, the new manager has come in, and then there's a new manager bounce and stuff like that. But still, we still want to see something more from Gerrard's Villa. Nevertheless, I still think there's a tendency that City lose their clean sheet to Villa, just like they lost their clean sheet to West Ham. They win the game, but they possibly lose their clean sheet to Villa. So with all this being said, I still feel Salah is a safe pick once again, but you could decide to go crazy. Maybe go crazy with a defender. For example, you could decide to look at Reguilon in Tottenham. It's possible that Tottenham keeps a shutout, judging by the fact that they are fresh. They didn't play against Burnley, and then they were playing against Brentford at home. So judging by the fact that they are fresh, Reguilon looks like someone who gets a goal or an assist in an Antonio Conte's team, and there's also a tendency of keeping a clean sheet. Now, I said there's a tendency of keeping a clean sheet. It's not guaranteed that they'll keep clean sheet because they are still trying to learn the Antonio Conte's trade, but at the moment, they look likely to get a clean sheet or at least grab a goal or an assist. I'm talking about Reguilon. So, judging by that, like I said, your safe picks, you can always make a decision, but this game week is a very risky game week. If you could target 50 points, 60 points, you would definitely get a green arrow. But I would not also be surprised if you get a 40 points and you still get a green arrow depending on the position you are in the league at the moment. Now we go to the final tip, of course, for the weekend, which is the predicted team of the weekend. Now I'm so afraid of calling this a predicted team for the weekend, judging by the fact that every week we say that our predicted team for the weekend are those who can guarantee us 70 points or more in a particular game week. Nevertheless, I've been careful enough to measure out what these guys can do to still try and target that 70 points barrier for as many of us who are following. The only problem that is there is that I know that many of us, for us to get this team, we possibly have to make wholesale changes to our squad or take a free hit and then hope that it pays off. But I still feel that the team chosen can actually get 70 points this weekend. So in goal, we have Fabianski from West Ham. I really feel West Ham will likely keep a clean sheet against Brighton. I don't see where the goals are coming from Brighton. I don't think the goals are going to come against West Ham. West Ham are solid defensively and should still be able to keep a clean sheet against Brighton. Possibly the 1-0 or the 2-0 and then everything happens. So I feel Fabianski in goal is a very good option. In defense, with James, just like I mentioned, I feel Chelsea will come out. The problem is his clean sheet. I'm not sure if he can keep the clean sheet, but I still see possibly a goal or an assist from Reece James. Also in defense, I see Johnson as well, also from West Ham. I feel it's a good day to have West Ham's defense because the clean sheets look likely. Another defender I also have here is Reguilon from Tottenham. Just like I mentioned, Reguilon looks likely to get a clean sheet or a goal and an assist or both. And then if he gets that, good day for you. So then the fourth defender, we have 4 defenders this week. The fourth defender is Rudiger. Like I said, I'm very scared of putting in a Man City defense because Aston Villa are big suspects. I'm afraid, I'm looking at it that it's possible that the clean sheet could be spoiled. Of course, Watford could also spoil the clean sheet for Chelsea. But when you compare Watford and you compare Aston Villa, you ask yourself a question, who is likely to get a goal? Then you'll be pointing towards Aston Villa. So because of that, I also have Rudiger in defense. So 2 Chelsea defenders, James and Rudiger, and then of course 2 West Ham defense. Then in midfield, of course, I have Salah, I have Jota. I just feel that Liverpool are too good to go to Goodison Park and not get a single goal. And if they are going to get in a goal, there's a tendency that Salah is part of the goal in terms of maybe an assist or the goal himself. And it's possible that when we look at the Liverpool team, Mane, Jota, Firmino, Salah, the 4 guys up front that play up front for Liverpool, we discover that Jota is the one that always has the highest number of big chances. He tends to be in the right place at the right time. So that's the reason why I have Jota in my team for the week, because I just feel that it's possible that when things are going bad, Jota could just nick in that odd goal and then get those maximum points. Then another player is also Rafinha. I feel Leeds going against Crystal Palace, both teams don't exactly defend particularly well at the moment. So I think that Rafinha at the moment looks like everything bright for Leeds. Of course, he has been very disappointing in I think a game week or 2, but I still feel that it's possible for him to turn up this game week. Then an attack, big boy Jamie Vardy, just like I mentioned to us last weekend, he told us I have a soft spot for Jamie Vardy. He was able to deliver 2 goals last weekend, and I still feel going away to Southampton is an opportunity for him to also deliver some points. I feel he could get a goal or get an assist. Then another player I have up front, as I mentioned earlier, is Timo Pukki, because he's playing against Newcastle. And the final striker I have up front is Alan Saint-Maximin, ASM. Because just like I mentioned, Newcastle are playing Norwich, both teams to score, both teams to call out attack, but I feel that the person who wins it, the person that wants it more. So if both teams want it more, then I see maybe a 3-3 draw. I'm happy with that. United, Maximan and Timo Pukki scores 2 goals, because I don't have both of them in my team at the moment. I just feel that there are players that can come together to give us a cumulative 70 points this weekend. Alright guys, that's a wrap up for this week. Let's not forget that the games continue. It's December to January. The games come thick and fast, and if you sleep on it in FPL, you end up in the back of the queue. So it means that we need to stay on point, keep updated with our FPL tips, try and subscribe, like the video if you like the content, and then also share with as many FPL lovers as possible. But don't forget that the deadline for the game week is on Tuesday and not on Saturday. Stay safe, guys.